Check it out, dude. This just in, we have two very cool machines.
That's right. We've got two side-by-sides, one from Polaris, one from Kawasaki, that compete against each other side by side.
Exactly. Very specifically. And I think you and I both agree that we like one of them just better.
That's true. So in this video, we're going to walk you through these two machines, actually get out and drive them and tell you which one we like the best so far, because they did just show up.
So let's start with this one, because this is the Xpedition, dude. This is the Polaris Xpedition 5-seater 1000 XP.
Yeah, it's a nice looking machine in kind of a dull gray, but I like the fact that they've matched these springs to the body color. It's also a Fox branded suspension, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, and Polaris has been doing this, for a very long time, where they combine kind of sport aspects of four-wheel drive with utility aspects, and now this luxury aspect as well.
The other thing that I like is that this side-by-side has a 4,500-pound winch factory installed up front, which is a great thing to have because you never know what you're going to run into.
Exactly. And also, this is a full cabin, right? So we got glass, we got windshield, we got full doors. Actually, do we have power windows? Yes, dude, check it out.
Yeah, absolutely we do. We've also got climate controls, we've got a center screen, so some pretty nice technology in here, quite a bit of space, decently nice materials as far as side-by-sides are concerned. These are always going to be more plasticky than something that you would find in the automotive space, but that makes them more durable, easier to wipe down, so in a side-by-side like this, it makes sense.
I want to try the back seats. Hold on, let me show you how I fit.
Well, if you're jumping in the back seat, I'll jump in the front.
Okay. I want to see this. Yeah! Actually, this is pretty good, dude.
Yeah, you got a bar that you can grab onto?
Where's my helmet, by the way? Do we need helmets?
Yeah, we'll go grab them in a moment before we take them out and drive.
Sounds good.
But seats are actually pretty nice and plush. Decent amount of space up here in the front as well. One thing that I do kind of like is that we've got a mix of analog gauges as well as a screen in the center. And kind of cool, you can open up the windshield up here, up front if you want to open up the cabin a little bit further. Also, JBL branded speakers. You can see that one of the bigger speakers right there below the dash, a smaller tweeter up top, and some speakers in the rear as well.
Exactly, and also these seats are pretty comfy. I mean, they're kind of good cushion. We have seat belts. This is basically like a Jeep.
Yeah.
I mean, has the same accommodations, almost the same space as a Jeep would.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty comfortable. Again, our ride command system here in the center, we have our four-wheel drive controls, diff locks. We've got our winch controls, as well as some actual drive modes, comfort, standard, sport. You think that's for suspension or the engine mode?
Yeah, and also, one-wheel drive, two-wheel drive, 4x4. By the way, look at this. These cup holders are removable. Do you want a drink?
Oh, wow. It's kind of like a cup holder that you used to be able to get in old G-Wagons that you can take it out.
Yeah, so look.
So this is basically a G-Wagon.
Almost. But it's almost as expensive as one, too. No, I'm just kidding.
We'll talk about price at the end.
Yeah.
Something else that's kind of nice, it is slightly carpeted here at the ceiling, so it seems like they're trying as far as giving these machines some nicer materials and some more comfort features.
Sweet. Look, up front, it looks like a normal car would, right?
Yeah, almost.
And it feels like it, almost.
Yeah, we've got our vents, we've got our center screen, our gauge cluster, everything, so all feels pretty familiar.
All right, let's take a look at the bed really quick, and then we can look at the Kawasaki.
Yeah, this bed does have a dump feature. These machines, relative to their overall size, have beds that are a little bit on the smaller side, so I wouldn't say that these are primarily work machines necessarily.
No.
Seems like a lot of people buy these to have as hunting vehicles, maybe vehicles to explore a large ranch property with.
And also something that's almost basically four-season capable, right? Imagine if it's snowing and raining and wind, you could be in that machine and be relatively comfortable, right?
Also, if we take a look under the bed, you'll see there is a 1000cc two-cylinder engine right here, 114 horsepower.
Okay, not bad.
It has finally arrived. It's summer, baby, and that means off-roading season is finally here, which also means some big savings on the best off-road navigation app in the business. Unlock more than 650,000 miles worth of guided trails for every vehicle type and skill level. onX off-road trails are color-coded, so what you want to do is find the area you're interested in, select a trail, and then with onX you'll know exactly what you're getting into, but you'll also know about closures or things like that. Elevate your experience and save even more with Elite. With Elite, you get advanced tools like private ownership boundaries and even recent satellite images so you can see what trail conditions might look like right now. Unlock better adventures and save 50% on a first-year membership with the code MD25 for US customers only. Use this QR code for the best deal in the industry.
Now, should we check out the Kawasaki?
Yeah, let's check it out. Actually, I haven't seen one of these before. This is the Rich Crew Inline 4, which is basically tells you about the engine, but it's also the limited edition.
It is, and it comes with quite a few features. So we've got this metal brush guard up front, which is nice for a little bit of added protection. That's a more substantial brush guard, or at least more coverage, than the smaller one that you get at the center of the front of the Polaris.
Yes.
Also a Warn branded 4,500 pound winch, so the same capacity, but it is a Warn branded winch, which you might put some extra stock in.
And I think somebody have been using it. It wasn't us.
Yeah,
somebody already used it.
Came to us.
Yeah.
We might re-spool that and get it looking a little neater. But this shock and spring combo by comparison is not branded. It's not a Fox unit or anything. And so it's just kind of a generic piece.
Yeah, so how's this going to drive without the branding on the shocks?
You know, I think it might be okay, but we'll find out in a moment.
Okay.
Then moving backwards, this one actually has side mirrors in addition to a rear view. If that's important to you, maybe a little bit of added visibility, depending on where you're driving.
And also this machine is taller.
It is. It's
Look at this.
Very tall cab.
It's quite a bit taller than, here's me standing next to this versus that.
Well, look at the height of this door.
Yeah, it's humongous.
Yeah, it's super tall. And I like the interior on this Ridge as well. A similar layout overall, but we've got, instead of analog gauges up front, 2 screens, still climate control, still power windows, a lot of those same features, and no JBL branded speakers, but quite a few of them, 8 in fact, because we've got the 4 speakers up front here, 2 toward the center, they're Kawasaki branded, and then 2 more at the rear where you are, also a carpeted ceiling, also a grab bar.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm sitting a little bit taller. I still have similar knee space, but look, my legs are almost dangling. I feel like a child.
Yeah.
And I'm not child-sized.
No, not at all. It is kind of a deep floor over there. These are both 5-seaters, so they're spec'd very similar. They're definitely very much direct competitors. This windshield doesn't open up. So there are quite a few differences between them, but a shocking amount of similarity.
Yeah, and before we get on the trail, we should take a look at the tires. So let's look at the tires first.
Yeah, we can check out the tires side by side over here. They're both 30-inch tires, both pretty aggressive. This Kawasaki has a 14-inch wheel, and the Polaris has a 15-inch wheel. So you might possibly like the look of a slightly bigger wheel, or want some of the extra sidewall and that extra squish and comfort of having a slightly smaller wheel. That would be a point of potentially personal preference. But once again, pretty similar because they're both 30s.
All right, well, let's suit up and let's go. Oh, wait.
We gotta do the bed.
Oh, the bed. Yes.
I also think it's cool that these doors open in reverse.
Coach doors.
Yeah, which is a little neat. This bed is also a dump and similarly sized to the one in the Polaris. And we've got
4 cylinders.
Yeah, 4 cylinders, so 2 more cylinders, twice the amount, but also 1,000 cc's.
And 116 horsepower, so 2 more cylinders, 2 more horsepower. But something tells me that this engine could be smoother, right? Because it's a little bit, I don't know, we'll see. We'll see how it runs.
And it'll likely sound a little bit different.
And by the way, some of these, well, these two also have hitches. So you could put about 1,000 pounds in the bed, and the ratings vary, but the ratings go up to about 2,500 pounds if you wanted to pull a trailer with one of these machines.
Yeah, which is a nice little bit of extra capability to have. But now, Andre,
yes,
we can get these out, see how
Which one is first, Polaris?
Yeah, let's start with the Polaris.
Okay. All right, let's fire this puppy up. You know, it sounds like a Polaris.
Yeah,
If you're used to one, it kind of sounds the same way.
Sounds like a twin.
Yeah. Actually, this reminds me, dude. Some states and counties, you can actually license side-by-sides for the street.
Yeah.
But you need a couple things. You need a horn, you need side mirrors, you need blinkers usually, and a license plate holder with a little bit of light.
But in general, this would be a good side-by-side to license because you got all the comfort features. You might as well daily drive it.
Exactly.
Especially at this price.
So I just threw it in low. Whoa, it's a little touchy. Dude, it's a little touchy and low.
Seems like it. Also, I will say, just for the record, as mild of things as we're doing with these right now, and these being fully enclosed, normally I wouldn't feel the need so much to wear a helmet.
Yeah.
But it's a requirement from the legal teams.
Yeah, and we want to stay legal and I'll do everything correctly.
Exactly. But pretty comfortable on the suspension.
Yeah, I think, you know, this the Fox suspension, I mean, they know what they're doing.
Oh,
so,
for sure.
You know, I think this low range is a little touchy. I'm going to try to go to high. See how that works. I like that a little bit better. It's a little bit smoother. It does have a continuously variable transmission, so it's not like... Oh, it's spinning a little.
And I know a lot of times there's people that swear by running them in low if you are going to be driving at low speeds and especially doing some more rock crawling kind of activities.
Yeah.
So maybe for the trenches it might be worth doing the low range.
Yeah, I could try that.
But here we'll see a little bit of the comfort going down the logs. And honestly,
dude,
this suspension
it's nice.
It's really good.
When we do this in regular vehicles, like street vehicles,
it's not that smooth.
No. No. Alright, do you want to throw, I'm going to throw it in low.
Yeah, we'll do our trenches here. We've got our diffs locked up, so we're not in turf mode anymore, which should maximize our traction. I'm imagining that this is going to be an absolute cakewalk for this machine, seeing as side-by-sides are generally very, very capable. And it looks like this is no exception.
Dude, I don't think we spun a tire.
No. This is also just our first initial drive. We are going to get these out on some trails as well.
Yeah, we should really take it really high into the mountains and see what they do.
Oh yeah.
Got grass growing here, it's hard to see.
Yeah, but a really comfortable suspension and a lot more capability left over than what we're testing.
Yeah. And it's a little bit touchy and low. But I want to see exactly how it compares to the Kawasaki.
Same.
I like these screens, dude. We have maps, we got all the gauges. This is nice.
The screens are super sharp on this.
Yeah.
I'd dare to even say they look a little bit nicer than the Polaris. The other thing that I like here is that it feels like we sit up very high, so our visibility is good.
Amazing visibility, dude. You know, for just a minute, I thought I was sitting on top of a Unimog in the cabin because the Unimogs have those commanding positions, you know?
Yeah. The other cool thing here is that this 4-cylinder engine, well, I mean, we're still kind of talking loudly because we're wearing helmets.
Yes.
But it feels like we don't have to talk nearly as loud. It's much quieter in the cabin of the Kawasaki.
But you said it was similar displacement, right? Or the same displacement,
Same
actually.
displacement, 2 more horsepower with this engine, but this engine is a lot smoother.
And also quieter, and that's a big deal, especially for hunting or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, you want something that's not very loud.
Absolutely. So, here, I'll go as we climb up here into low range. And the throttle application feels very smooth to get it moving. So,
and you are locked up, right?
Yeah, I'm all locked up, 4-wheel drive and diffs. So far, Kawasaki is feeling really great.
Yeah.
Now let's see how the suspension feels going down the logs.
Because it has no branding, Case. No brand.
We'll see if that has an impact on it. I also like the amount of engine braking that we're getting right now too. No brakes, although until we start going down a steep enough incline. The Polaris might be a little bit more comfortable.
Probably a little.
This is still not bad though.
I think it's better than an SUV, but a little bit worse than the Polaris, maybe.
Yeah, the Polaris seemed to be a little bit smoother. on the suspension at least.
All right, well, let's see how it compares on the trenches.
Yeah, once again, fully expecting that the Ridge will make light work of this, because again, these are obstacles that we built for cars primarily, not so much for side-by-sides. This is just our initial test because these vehicles just showed up at our ranch. So we want to get an initial impression of how they do, and the initial impression here on the Kawasaki especially is really good.
You know, it feels like the Polaris was lifting tire a little bit more. This one seemed a little bit more compliant.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more articulation by seat of the pants feel, but it's hard to tell while not being outside of the vehicle getting to look at it.
All right, do you want to climb up rocks and see how that goes?
Let's do that as the last obstacle. But Andre, talk to me about prices on these two, because that's massively important.
Oh my goodness. So this 5-seater, 4-door Kawasaki Ridge Limited inline 4 starts at just over $38,000, okay?
Yes.
Which is actually quite a bit of money to begin with.
This is not an inexpensive machine, considering the fact that, you know, most people, myself included, would be lucky to be able to spend that on their daily driver.
Exactly. But that Polaris Xpedition XP1000, which we just saw, starts at almost $44,000. What's going on?
I don't know. It flashed a light at me there for a moment.
Maybe like traction control?
I'd be surprised. What traction control? We're fully locked up.
Yeah. So it struggled just a little bit more.
Now, Andre, price is a hugely important aspect of these, because neither is a cheap machine.
No, and they're kind of in their own class, right? They compete against each other. They're, like you see, luxurious side-by-sides.
Yeah.
This Kawasaki Ridge Crew Inline 4 Limited starts at just over $38,000, about $38,100, and you could put a couple of options on it still.
Yeah, and that's a lot of money. That's money that most people, myself included, are lucky to spend even on their regular daily driver.
Well, we recently bought a Jeep Wrangler 2-door base model for about the same money.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how much this costs.
So it's no small sum of money, but what about the Polaris?
It's more. That Polaris Xpedition XP1000 we're just driving starts at $43,999, basically 44 grand, which makes it what, $5,800 or $5,900 more than this starting price?
Yeah, which is kind of a big difference. If these two were the exact same price, I would probably still lean slightly towards this Kawasaki.
How come?
I like how smooth this engine is, a little bit quieter. I like some of the tech in here, and just the general package. So far, I will say that much, because these did just show up. We really haven't gotten to spend tons of time with them. But the fact that this is less expensive as well, by quite a bit, I would pick the Kawasaki hands down.
So here's what I learned today about the Polaris, is that it's very automotive feeling. You know, you saw that it has park, has reverse, everything is kind of familiar. So if you were in a Jeep and you jumped into the Polaris, I think you would just feel at home, right?
Yeah.
This still has the neutral handbrake action. It feels a little bit more agricultural
Sure.
In that respect. But I agree with you. Price, you know, money or no money, if they were the same price, I kind of associate myself with this one a little bit more. Although the Polaris the suspension is a little smoother.
Yeah, the Polaris has definitely got things going for it.
Yeah.
But price considered, this Kawasaki would definitely be my choice. Let us know what you think down in the comments below, and what you'd like to see us do with these machines. Definitely getting them out onto some Colorado trails up in the mountains to actually test their capability is first on that list.
All right, as always, thank you, and check out oldtfl.com for everything automotive in one place. And of course, check out Onyx Off-Road Maps once again.